All right, everybody, we're back. Round 15 from the Collins division. Two players sitting at 10 wins apiece, Erickson Smith and Evan Berofsky. We've seen both of these two players face off against Conrad Bassett-Bouchard in the first two rounds. We're going to see them go toe-to-toe in this game. Once again, Will Anderson here, joined by Evans Clinchy for another game. Excited for this one, Evans. This is going to be pretty impactful in the standings.
Absolutely, yeah. Both these players are 10-4. It looks like Eric must have beaten, I guess, Puneet Sharma in his last round, so he's got 10 wins as well. And Conrad also at 10-4. We've seen all three of these guys play already this afternoon, Erickson, Evan, and Conrad. Both these guys played really well in their games against Conrad, and now they face each other. So hoping for a third consecutive really high-quality Scrabble game here.
And a nice draw for Eric to start this game for nice. Sure. He has to be happy to see that. There's some debate in the chat about Eric is just coming up in the chat about who is the tallest player in North America. And I have to say, Erickson Smith is very tall. He's got to be 6'7" or taller. Seeing him alongside Josh Sokol is truly a sight to behold. Evans, you yourself are pretty tall, but you can't compare to Erickson or Josh.
I'm in the race for third place, put it that way.
Yeah. So shaming is the play. I think a shaming is a valid Collins word, so maybe some idea of picking something different here that doesn't allow that hook. Something like gampish would have been okay. The nice thing about shaming, though, is, it might also take an S, too. So...
it does,
maybe Gampish was the quote-unquote safest play that doesn't really offer any hooks, but really difficult to find too much fault with this as a quick, decisive opening play less than a minute off of Erickson's clock.
Gampish is actually the only one that doesn't take any hooks because if you play mashing, it offers S hooks on both sides for smashing and mashings and smashings. So any combination of S's on any end.
Wow. Very nice. There's actually a couple bingos that Erickson might have. There's one that always makes me laugh. A Collins only word through a W on Erickson's rack that he would play. He's not going to get a chance to play it here. Wow. Muffin with Tentacle notes it in the chat there. But to my point about shaming, though, Evan can play Zoea, the extra A spelling and a shaming here in a really lucrative way that wouldn't have been available after something like Gampish. But, looks like he is maybe not thinking about that at all. Azote scores 39. That's a nice scoring play, but I definitely think if he's thinking of a shaming at all, he would want to play that here for an extra 10 points, Evans. What do you think?
Yeah, so the 5L6 of Zoaee, Zoeae would have been 50 points. Hard to pass that up. But Azote's a little bit less high scoring here.
So we'll see what Zoai. Yeah, that's what I was attempting to say, you guys in the chat. I probably wasn't giving it that full vowel-y sound that I needed to do to get there. But anyway, either way, solid play, if not for those other options. I know that's kind of like, if not for that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play, as they say. But it was a decent choice there. Closes up a lot. Really no opportunity to play 8-letter words here except off of the S or G of shaming. So that's nice. Question about, are the standings available? The standings are always available via the query in the chat. So you can always keep track of who is doing what in what division. What should Eric do here? I saw Waj suggested with Azoted here, Evans. Seems all right.
Yeah, it looks very nice. 31 points is far more than anything else you're going to get here. Your other plays are all a lot less high scoring.
Yeah. And also, pretty much all of your plays that you can make here are kind of aggressive, too. It's hard on this really tight, compacted board to make a play that doesn't give your opponent, in Erickson's case, that gives Evan some nice thing to work with.
Yeah, like you
So
don't want to play like wood over top of AH making da because you're giving him a W in the triple, and that's just easy points. So yeah, like a lot of options are going to give back something to your opponent.
maybe this oddly, I mean, Wu is kind of doing that, but maybe this is like the safest option. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's quite as bad as some of the other choices in terms of giving Evan good stuff, but immediately Evan plays queen here. Seems pretty reasonable to me. There is one, I guess, I should note that it's reasonable except for a shaming again. So you could play Qua and a shaming for 45 here. That seems pretty good.
There's also B shaming for 48.
That's true. So I guess the big question here is it doesn't feel like Evan sees a shaming. Does Erickson see it, right? Like we don't know yet. He hasn't drawn another A, so we just don't know whether he sees it too. So that's going to be interesting. The next A that Erickson draws, will he have a good play there? And if he does, will he see it? Queen is a solid play, though. Don't mean to imply, again, that it's some kind of massive mistake. It seems pretty good, especially if he's thinking of beshaming with that B, redrawing an E. But you guys are pointing out, Benji Scrabble points out a couple of bingos that Erickson has through the U of Queen. I certainly hope he spots them here. Big swing between finding these bingos with the U and P on the rack as opposed to playing them off.
Yeah, these are not the easiest words to know or to find, but if Erickson can find one of them, he'll be in a great position.
I wonder what's he considering here? Oh, just quap. I see. So
That's probably the best play of the non-bingo options, but it's a lot worse than bingoing.
It's good. It makes a nice S hook, but certainly a far cry from the bingo here. So let's see what happens. What will Evan do? Will he have any nice play? Not really. Again, it feels like Evan is drawing sort of A after A. Maybe normally he would consider playing flab and a shaming or something like that, but that doesn't seem like it's in the offing. I can't really find a great play for Evan here. I guess something parallel to queen is what he would try to do before quap, but after it, that's not going to be possible. I guess you could still play bunt or something. All right, there it is. Too bad. So no bingo here for Eric, even though it was available through the U. Quap the play instead. I don't think we hate this. But yeah.
Probably the best of his non-bingo options, but yeah.
Slight missed opportunity, but we move on.
He's got a 51-point lead, so life could be a lot worse.
That's true. What is he drawing there? Another D, a K, and a vowel, or what? An R. Ooh, so he drew duplicated D's and R's. And all right, looks like Evan is just going to play fib. This looks pretty good, putting the F in that lucrative spot, scoring 30, blocking. Maybe Evan feels like after quap, Erickson is slightly likelier to have an S than usual to make such an aggressive play, and he's heading that off at the pass as well. Do you think there's any chance, Evans, I should say, that Evan will eventually think of a shaming as a hook? You know, that could happen, right?
I think that happens sometimes, that you just like space on something at one point in the game and then realize it later. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. I do think that Evan knows the word. It's in his brain somewhere. He's just got to find it.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes when that happens. It looks like he's drawn nettable through the E of queen, by the way. So that's something that unless Eric manages to block there, Evan's going to bingo next turn. It looked like he was getting ready to play Drek through that E, though.
Yep, sure did.
So that looks like that looks like it would get the job done to block Evan.
Yeah, I think Evan would have much worse options after Drek. Unless he can find B-Shaming, which is also still available.
True. That's true. The shaming scores a lot. And there is
48.
Drek. That hurts for Evan, blocking that nettable spot through the E of Queen. All right, let's see. So we give him his points. He continues to be up 40-ish. Drek didn't score that well. 18 points is a little bit of a letdown in general. You'd like to see, you're trying to score in the 30s or above when you're not bingoing. You're trying to get every bingo you can. So 18 points feels like you're somewhat committed to trying to get a bingo, but Eric has drawn into one.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Oh, man, Bezant. Let's just say Bezant would not be helpful to Evan at this time. In this situation, Bezant through the ZA looks like a solid play, but it gives Erickson serried for 1,000,000 points afterwards as a double-double hooking onto the S for Bezant here. So if he's feeling frisky, he might play that, and he's going to get punished to the max if he tries it.
Yeah, you get 34 points and your opponent gets 118.
Not a great exchange. Not a great exchange.
Yeah, the best play here is still B-Shaming. And yeah, according to Quackle, Bezant is second, but in real life, that is, as it's been pointed out in chat, you got to be a nut job.
Yeah, we'll see. It looked like Eric just had what's he doing there? Is he trying to send us some bizarre message? I don't know.
He's lining up Rizzards through ZA.
Oh, very nice. Yes. Got it. I must have missed that. That's great. Of course. That's pretty comparable, actually, with the bingo here. Rizzards. Nice. Good eye by all of you that saw that. I think, Evan, certainly if we were going to see B-Shaming, we might have already seen it. I don't know. Certainly Bezant has a lot to commend it. It scores decently well here. Keeps a balanced lead for next turn, ALT. But man, scary to play that, especially after Drek, which looks kind of strong.
Exactly. We were talking earlier about how you want to infer that your opponent's been grooming a good rack, especially when they've been kind of fishing a little bit. And Drek certainly implies some kind of S or blank type rack.
Interesting choice there, though, Evans. Benzel.
Yeah.
Keeping the 2 T's, but not incurring such a big risk.
And blocking Rizzards.
But still definitely expecting Erickson he can pluralize this, whether with Resider or Serried. Ooh, interesting choice here. Oh,
he might not know that Benzel takes an S.
I think Benzel doesn't take an S in NWL. I'm pretty sure it's only Collins. I think that's...
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe at some point he thought to himself that Benzel is just an adjective, but he could have pluralized that to better effect there, just because Serried or Resider and Benzel really gives nothing back at all to Evan, whereas after Serried, you got all these nice, beautiful bingo lanes.
It's very true. Also, just for content, I want to point out the other bingo available here, which is Spider Ear through the PI up top.
I didn't notice that. Great. Wow. To be more like a spider, of course.
Yeah.
Why not? But Evan, on the other hand, let me get the scores right for you guys. This is definitely not the rack that Evan is wanting to respond with a bingo here. That being said, Eric has a pretty good rack, though. He could play outdoors, at least, through the D of Serried. Maybe other stuff, too, if he sees it. So the game kind of hanging in the balance here for Evan Berofsky. I don't know. It's going to be tough for him to save himself here. If Erickson spots outdoors, there's almost no way that's ever getting blocked.
Yeah, really difficult spot for Evan here. Not much you can do. What's he playing? Tal Tala. Okay.
So Jelamoka is suggesting Batata off of the B of Fib might have been a better choice there. And I have to admit, 27 points leaving ET seems like a great choice there. So maybe a slight miss on Evan's part.
Also made it a little bit easier to bingo as well. You look at just like the lane to the left of that A, it would have been wide open.
Only one bingo for Erickson here. It's through the D of Serried. He's got a no and C outdoors. I feel like there's I don't know. I felt like he was on the verge of setting it up on his rack there, but maybe not.
Yeah, we were just talking about Collins only word knowledge. This is another one that if you haven't gotten deep into the Collins words is not easy to know, but looks like he's got route lined up on his rack. Not sure what's up with that.
Where is he thinking about playing that?
No idea.
Yeah, I mean, if not outdoors, I think Erickson is probably resigned to just playing one of his U's and I don't know, just like OU somewhere. That's incredibly uninspiring.
Yeah, pretty weak. Yeah, if you look at the list of candidate moves in Quackle, the scores of these moves are 68, 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 0, 4, 4, 4.
That seems a big gap, yeah. I mean, there is definitely, even though it's not on that list, there's definitely a sense that maybe he just plays something from the B down to the triple, right? Instead of taking a 6-point play here, you could just play Butios or something like that, leaving UR. It's not great, but I think I would prefer that than to fishing. Good comment there about the word sidedly being defined in the chat. Very strange definition there for that word. Sidedly is defined as adverb used in combination. What does that even mean? Definition bot has to up its game there. Oh, man. Oh, I thought he had it there. I thought Eric just was about to have OUTURES lined up on his rack, but he's gone back to UTU instead. I don't know. I think at this point it seems clear he's not going to play his bingo through the D. He's going to come up with something else, which is going to be, as Evans alluded to, significantly worse.
You just hate to see it.
Good question from Mr. Sharp Wits. Is it possible to see the point value after a word is played? I don't think it is, but that's definitely something that would be useful to sort of track for these streams. But that's tricky to do. So we just have the cumulative score, which I'm updating as fast as I can.
If you've got specific questions about the score, you can ask them in chat and we'll try and field them for you.
For sure, yeah, definitely. Should always feel free to ask. So Erickson taking his sweet time here. He could just be getting ready to play a U by itself. Or maybe exchanging it. Nah, if he's going to exchange, he's well, I don't know. Roots is probably a pretty good leave.
Or he's seen outdoors the entire time and this is a massive troll move.
That would be on brand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like that's happening here. He's got a nice size lead. He can definitely. Okay. That's where he's going to fish. Wow. Duo for 4. Surprising, but let's just see what he draws. It would be kind of funny if he drew a U here and then played outdoors.
That would be the real troll move.
Okay, a G. So he'll have some stuff here. I would expect him to see Gaustier or something like that through the Grouders, of course.
Also, Eurostige, another fun Collins word.
Oh yes, very nice. Evan playing Jeet nearly instantly there. Maybe a miss of Jalab to the B of Benzel.
Yeah, I'm surprised he played so quickly. That was maybe a move worth thinking a little bit more about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because given that Erickson took so long to make his move, I would think that Evan had ample time to come up with his next move. But,
True.
Eric's play didn't really block anything, so Jalab was equally available before and after Duo. So a couple moves, a couple like second best type moves for Evan here. I would say Azote could have been improved with Zoaya and a Shaming. Tala maybe with Batata and Jeet with Jalab. Obviously, in general, if you're making the second best move most of the time, you're still doing pretty good. But at this level, some of the little nuances between best and second best can be a big deal.
I will say that Jeet and Jalab is pretty debatable. Quackle says you're going to score 7 points more next turn after Jeet because you're keeping FLT instead of FTT as a leave. FTT is kind of gross to work with. So it's pretty close. And I think the computer says that Jalab's only better by like a couple of points.
Okay, so maybe not as big. Oh, what's this? Rogiest. I'm very surprised by the miss of Grouders here. I feel like that's a pretty easy word to see, but I don't know. That's a surprising one. Grouders through that R, scoring 86, hitting both double word scores.
Those ERS words can be hard to know which ones are good and which ones aren't. Didn't this come yesterday? Somebody had like triple ERS or something like that. Like
that was Conrad.
Yeah,
was
like
Conrad.
It's just, these ERS. Sometimes it seems kind of arbitrary, like which ones are valid, which ones are not. So being unsure of Grouders, I can't really blame you.
And Evan's going to give this a check on the challenge machine. It is a valid word. So what that means here is that Erickson is going to get 5 more points on the scoreboard. That's the challenge rule in use here. As you actually can see, if you look in the background of the second player's screen, you can see players getting up and going to use the challenge machine pretty consistently there. And they're going to get the news that this word is valid. So Eric goes up quite a bit now, 5 extra points after the challenge, up over 100.
So it's going to be 301 to 190, 111-point lead for Erickson Smith.
So back to Evan, and a lot of consonants on there. There's actually a pretty cool play here for Evan if he spots it underneath Rogiest, making a ton of overlaps of just heft.
Oh, wow.
H-E-F-T-E through the E of Serried, the second one. And that's going to score 50 points if he spots it. That would be pretty nice to see here. But even then, Eric has drawn the second blank and is in the driver's seat here. Good point by David Whitley. Could be some thought of like, is Rougiest or Rogiest, which one of those is valid? I feel like Rougiest is definitely plausible. And it looks like Fletch is going to be the play here. Again, this is a solid play. I like this play, except there was one better play available.
Yeah, like that's second best again, yeah.
Just the theme, that stuff adds up over time. Although it's more accurate to say that it's hard to know sometimes whether the first and second best player are going to have that big of an effect on the game. Sometimes you might make the second best play and it works out better. Other times, tiny little differences between the top evaluated play and the second play just make all the difference in the game. It's actually maddening at times when that happens.
Yeah, and I think another example of kind of the manifestation of luck in Scrabble is the degree of difficulty of the plays that you draw, right? Because sometimes you have a game where you draw like obvious X and Q and Z plays and like stem bingos, and the best play is obvious every turn. And then other games you have games where you draw pretty well, but you have plays like Hefty that are hard to find, and it's just harder to win when you have more difficult plays to find.
That's a really good point. I think, one way that manifests itself is the blanks, right? Like, do you draw something with a blank that requires a really difficult find? Maybe there's only one bingo available on a turn with a blank, and it requires some really obscure word. The blank needs to become a X or a J or a V or something insane. Or do you draw retina blank?
Right.
So Vom looks like the play here. This makes some sense in order to get a really good S hook on the board. It's worth noting that Erickson has not only the last S, but the second blank. So this is a really, really annoying opening that Evan is going to be very hard pressed to deal with, and that Erickson is in prime position to hit. He may also have stuff from the B of Fib now. But certainly the Vom's hook is going to be pretty easy for him to hit now.
Absolutely.
Question from 14 Domino. Can you use sidedly in a sentence? Boy, I don't know. I hesitate. They built the Pentagon 5-sidedly. Yeah, one of my favorite definitions, I'll define it in the chat right now. I think this is going to be, I like this one. Non-entry is defined as the fact of not entering. I just find that so bizarre. Just the word fact there makes me so, I just think it's very weirdly phrased. Yeah. Okay, nothing from the B, in fact. So, all right, this makes sense, actually. Trying his best. Evan's trying his best to block that S hook, but it's just going to lead to getting hit with Windiest or something else. And Erickson's going to cruise here.
Yep. Windiest will put Erickson up by 150. This one is pretty much over.
I think it's fair to say that, Evan had some chances, maybe some more chances in this game. Not a lot, right? I feel like Erickson's drawn really well and played very well besides, but some of these moves might have had a big difference in the game if you're Evan here. So, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is it for sure. Sorry.
It was a close game, after like move 4 or 5 or so. Evan had his chances with, like, if he found a word like beshaming, for example, that would have scored a lot for him in the middle game and kind of opened up the board. And at that point, anything's possible. So this wasn't the kind of game where he was doomed from the start. That's for sure.
Granita on the rack for Evan. Doesn't look like that's going to fit. Kind of funny that if the S weren't there on shamings, you might now have the opportunity to play Granita and a shaming. No longer.
Do we know the blank?
I'm going to assume it's a W, but maybe we'll get word from I think you can kind of see it there on the blank slip on the left side of the screen next to the board
right.
there.
It's a W.
Looks like a W, yeah.
It's the fourth from the corner. It's WXYZ in the corner there, yep.
Look at that. Look at me. I'm like a CSI guy over here. Computer enhance. Bring up that blank slip. So, yeah, Erickson, you can see the lead is pretty commanding now, 392 to 245. That's just too much. There's 21 tiles unseen to Evan, 14 in the bag. Too little, too late.
Oh, wow. Jellamilkus points out in chat that if he played Rhindius with a blank R, Evan could fish for Nightjar.
Yeah, that would be nice.
No, he means through the J in Jeet. Never mind. He means through the J up top. Sorry, Jellamilkus, I caught myself. My mistake.
Gotcha. Yeah, Nightjar. You could just, I guess you just.
So because there's no H in the bag, you can't fish for it. I see.
Yeah, you would pop an A down and try to get a blank or an H. I see. Got it. Yeah, if I'm Evan, I'm probably just giving up the ghost here and playing bargain, frankly, off of the B of Fib.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I mean, that's always disappointing, right? Like in these situations where you're down 130, 140 points and you're trying to, are you trying to win the game at this point? That's not really realistic. You just want to cut that spread as much as possible. It always feels a little sad when you have to do that, but that is the nature of using margin of victory as a tiebreaker. You could really rack up some big losses in games like this if you were just trying to, I don't know, magically open up triples and hope your opponent phonies and then lets you get them, right? Like Evan could play lag or something, or like HAN off of Fletch and try to draw into an ING bingo, but that's never working. So you're just going to bleed incredible amounts of spread that way.
Frustrating game for Evan. He has not bingoed at all. He's been out bingoed 4-0.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that bad.
He probably thought, but like his first move was Azote keeping AE. He probably thought, I got 2 workable vowels here. I'll bingo soon. Nope, it's move 10. He hasn't bingoed at all.
That's rough, right? Especially, it's crazy to think. We were talking in Evan's first game against Conrad. I sort of introduced him to the audience by saying, this is a guy that knows the dictionary incredibly cold, including 9s, 10s, blank bingos, all kinds of stuff. He's so good with the words. And yet here he is, just through kind of a tiny bit of his own making, but mostly through bad luck, let's be honest. He hasn't had a chance to play any bingos at all. It feels unfair. Maybe he's getting set to play Ag and ABBA. That seems all right, too.
Still a lot of tiles in the bag. There's 14 in the bag, so he doesn't have to, race to the end of the game necessarily. Yeah, 3 E's unseen to Evan, as pointed out. That's a good point. So if he wants to fish for, berating or something, he can try it.
H2O Queen, thank you very much for the kind words. We are loving doing commentary for the Crescent City Cup, as we always do. And definitely special thanks to Evans here for, Evans is the father of a newborn and yet is carving out a few hours in the day to hop on and do some commentary with us. And Evans, we thank you very much for that.
Well, I just want to thank the newborn's mother for letting me. I have the easy job. I just sit here and yak about Scrabble. Why are you thanking me?
I assume that you'll have to sort of pay the piper there at some point,
right?
Like,
well, I woke up early this morning and
So in that sense, we still thank you, just knowing that, in an equitable partnership, you're still going to be getting some baby time at some point.
On second thought, I will accept your thanks because I slept like 3 hours last night. So
there you go. I think it's well warranted. So, Evan's just kind of figuring out which way he wants to go. Does he want to use more tiles? Looks like he's shaking his head and sort of the players are exchanging some friendly comments here. Looks like Erickson's giving him a little, what's going on stare. And down comes Ag. Fine. That's as good as anything. Gives you chances of hitting maybe something from the B of Fib. Not a lot else going on the board, though.
Should point out that Evan is one of the true gentlemen of Scrabble. I think a lot of people in this position would just be like, they're in first place playing for a lot of money, and Evan is just getting crushed. A lot of people in this position would just be like, you luckbox, I hate you. But no, he's just being very friendly and gracious about it, so...
For sure. Yeah, he's really one of the, just kindest, souls in the Scrabble community for sure. Really just friendly, sweet guy. As Erickson just pops down, Poi in the corner, undoubling his O's and I's. Seems all right.
Sure.
Not quite. So there's definitely Evan has Tinware and Tawnier on his rack. Nowhere to go with it, of course. More insult to injury. Meanwhile, Erickson has the X, which he could just play Boxier or something for a boatload of points, or just Vox parallel to G. So he's going to be hammering something nice next turn, one way or another. Yeah, spread right now of an even 150 points. That's a nice big margin for Erickson. We should mention also, though, that Erickson's cumulative spread is not very good. So even this win, which is pretty big, is not really going to substantively get him that close to other people in the standings. It might get him a little closer to Evan. Actually, you know what? I take that back. The standings are pretty compressed. Erickson is only down by 500-ish points of spread to Conrad Bassett-Bouchard, and that is definitely something that players can make up in the span of a couple rounds. So I had thought that somebody was getting close to 1,000 spread, but nobody really is. So even though Erickson only has 86 points of cumulative spread, despite his 10-4 record, he's getting a big chunk here, and a couple more games like this, and he'll be right back in it with this tiebreaker.
Also, Erickson could just be a whole win clear of the field. Conrad's got a tough matchup right now with Austin Shin. If Conrad were to lose, he'd be at 10, Evan would be at 10, and Erickson would be one game up at 11-4.
Great point. Yeah. So ultimately, he really does just have to worry about continuing to win games. Of course, that doesn't feel like it's that insightful of analysis on my part. So I apologize for that.
Try to win games, as one does.
Yeah, that seems like classic, pro sports analysis. Kind of brain dead, doesn't convey that much info. We got to execute. Evan's got to execute. Erickson's got to execute.
You play to win the game.
Oh, God, don't even get me started. That quote, of course, former New York Jet head coach Herman Edwards, who I am as many of the stream viewers know, I am a New York Jet football fan, and that was not a good time in my life when he was the coach of the Jets. And having him say you play to win the game when he was the most risk-averse moron of a coach did not sit well with me. So anyway, we got 3 tiles in the bag. Evan has 2 Ys on his rack. It's just going to be tough for him to figure out a plan to get another bingo down. I don't even see where he's going to get a lot of points here. So, yeah. Good. Okay, good trolling here. Reincarnatas bringing up Zach Wilson, the failed Jet draft pick. And Kev says, you're saying Will can commentate this tournament every year without worry since the Jets will never play this late. That's a pretty good one. I got to give you credit for that, Kev. That cuts pretty deep. That is the proverbial ice burn right there for me.
That's a pretty sick burn.
Ouch.
Wow. No coming back from that.
But hey, if that's going to be true, at least it's fun to watch some really high-level Scrabble from New Orleans each year. I'll take that as a consolation prize, even if I never get to see my team win a Super Bowl or come anywhere close. All right, Evan plays City, so only 3 in the bag, so no chance of even fishing for anything here. Just sort of limping to the end of the game. It actually does block Eric's play of Broiled that it looks like he wanted to play. So he'll have to come up with something else.
Probably a 4-letter word from that V up top, like void or vide.
Yeah, void looks fine. Is he getting ready to play Vild, V-I-L-D, just for the Collinsness of it? He blocked his own beanery. That's right. Good observation by Jello Mochas.
Yeah.
Too bad. But ultimately, we're just sort of limping to the end of this game, and odds are very good that round 16, our final round of the day, will be more hotly contested than this one was. Most of the games today have been pretty good for most of the game, and this one was kind of a blowout from early on.
Ooh, looks like a treat waiting for us next round on stream. It's going to be Evan versus Dave Wiegand.
Oh, man. That's probably the best chance that we have of seeing some crazy word find its way onto the board, those two going at it.
Absolutely.
So definitely going to want to tune in for that. Last game of the day, so definitely want to put up a nice big number as far as viewership. Hope you guys will tune in, finish the stream off solidly with a good number. Yeah, Chloe Stephan game was very crazy, especially given the, familial aspect of it. That was super cool. All right, there we go. Vild is the play up top, as Evans suggested, something from the V.
Yep.
And something with Yaba here, maybe. Can put that Y onto the end of ABA in that upper left corner of the board. But again, this is definitely all Erickson, closing in on 500 points. I think he's going to get there.
Put it out in the chat that Erickson only has one possible outplay here. He can just play oneer in the top left, making rag.
Oh, okay. So maybe he won't get there. What's he going to do otherwise? Yeah, I think he will get there one way or another to 500, but he's not going to end the game. Oh, no. Now Erickson can play Ron, right? Ronne. That's a word through the N.
Oh, that sounds like a thing, yeah.
And is he going to think of it? Yes, he is. There it goes. So Neri probably not exactly the right play for Evan, giving up a little bit of spread there. As he yields an outplay to Erickson that he didn't normally have. So the final score of this game, 508 to 339. Pretty big win for Erickson Smith, Evans. That certainly knots things up quite a bit at the upper echelon of the Collins division.
Sure does. Erickson Smith improves to 11-4, and he might be all alone as the only 11-4. We're still waiting on a result of the other player who had 10 wins, Conrad Bassett-Bouchard, who's playing Austin Shin. But in any event, Erickson is going to be either at or very near the top of the standings, with Conrad and Evan also in the mix at 10 or 11 wins ish. And then Rob Babinski's got 9 wins and Dave Wiegand at 8. So a lot of good players still in the hunt. This thing is far from over with 5 rounds still to go.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see these players duke it out at that top level. I'm pretty excited for it. I think for now, while we are wrapping this one up, why don't we take our last break of the day, and we will return with our final game in round 16 in the Collins division at the Crescent City Cup. I'm excited. Evans, how we doing?
We're good. Let's keep going. Let's roll.
Awesome. Wow, we're getting all 4 games. That's a huge shout out to Jen Clinchy there for providing incredible childcare while you're here doing commentary. We really appreciate it. So, all right, sounds good. Let's take a little break. We'll come back in just a couple minutes with the last game of the day from the Crescent City Cup.